Today, our first guest is someone whose name you've seen on the biggest nights in boxing, but his story didn't start under the bright lights. Javier Zinzun Jr. is the mind behind the IGMOB brand, the number one designer in the sport, the guy fighters call when they want to feel like warriors. But before the belts, before the arenas, before the custom fits, Javier was fighting a very different opponent: addiction, chaos, a version of himself that almost didn't survive. In 2011, he overdosed, died, came back, and rebuilt his life piece by piece. Alone in withdrawal, at rock bottom, with nothing but a pencil and a blank shirt, and a promise to himself. That promise became a movement. I got my own back. Today, we're not here to talk about fashion or fame. We're here to talk about the road underneath all of it: the drug, the spiral, the comeback, and the man he had to become to sit in this chair today. Javier, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. For people who don't know you, who are you?
Well, my name is Javier Zinzun Jr., and I am a fashion designer. But I am a fashion designer that's hard on himself because I said until the day I hit the runway, that's when I'll truly consider myself a fashion designer.
I've seen you a lot, mostly in boxing. Is that an avenue that you do mostly, just boxing?
Well, that's where I make my bread and butter, which is that's the industry that I kind of found a niche market in. And I decided to kind of do as much as I can in that industry to a point where I can leave a name for myself. And on Google, I am the world's #1 boxing designer. So it looks like I achieved what I was trying to do already in the industry.
As a number one boxing designer, what does that entail? Who have you worked with that makes you a number one designer?
It's not just the fact that I've worked with all the biggest names or been on the biggest stages. It's what I've accomplished in boxing, which is I my work, yes, it has been on some of the biggest stages, but then you have small unique things like Mark Castro wearing a boxing outfit of mine that on his professional debut, he got bumped up to co-main event on the Canelo card. Then you got Ramla Ali, who was the first female to ever fight in Saudi Arabia, and I got a chance to design that boxing outfit. So it's literally being a part of a lot of these guys' careers growing up, and the fact that I've gotten a chance to not only work in boxing, but I branched out of there where YouTubers discovered me because of the big names that I was working with, from Ryan Garcia, which I thank a lot because all the shout outs he gave me, that's how all the YouTubers discovered me. And that's how I ended up working with Logan Paul, FaZe Jarvis, Austin McBroom, and literally the Creator Clash, which was 16 of the biggest YouTubers. And I got a chance to design for 16 of them, that was pretty awesome. That was the most fight outfits I've done in one card. So, I mean, let alone that shows you how I became like the owner of that title.
So as a fashion designer, I mean, you have an opportunity to work with a lot of different type of areas. Why boxing?
Boxing is because it's what brought our family close together when I was a kid. And when you grow up like me, which was like there's a lot of dark moments. Some of the happy moments were when I used to go watch boxing matches, boxing fights at my uncle's house. Obviously, you know, from Oscar de la Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez, Mike Tyson, some of the Madomero Paez, those are some of the exciting fighters I got a chance to see. And that I've always wanted to stay in that industry. I've always wanted to be a boxer. I always wanted to be an MMA fighter. So pretty much I chose an industry that I knew nobody has tapped into it yet.
I've also seen you work with some celebrities. Can you share some of the people you worked with and how you got about that?
So we got Fluffy the comedian, Gabriel Iglesias. One of his guys discovered me, and he gave me the opportunity to design for Gabe. He goes, "Well, you're already doing such intense, crazy, like complicated things in boxing. Have you ever done like a nice button-up shirt for, you know, for like a client?" And I said, "You know what? No, I haven't, but I could go ahead and do some crazy shirts for who's your friend?" And Gabriel Iglesias. I was like, "Oh wow." So I got a chance to design for him. And then Michael Bay, it was crazy because apparently he contacted a few people in the boxing industry and everybody said this is the go-to guy. So Michael Bay also wanted a boxing outfit for an event that he was going to. And then you got the CEO Brian Chesky of Airbnb who also contacted me, and Jeff Beecher from Beecher's Madhouse. So it's like literally my work is just being seen from people that are outside of boxing, and it's opened up doors in so many directions that if I had a chance to write down all the names, like I definitely jumped into a lot of celebrities. Even Ice Cube was recently gifted one of my boxing shorts, and you can see the video on my social media. And pretty much, like I said, that's kind of how I earned the name because I've grabbed the attention of not only boxing, but everything else outside of boxing. I'm a guy who doesn't look at what anybody else is doing. Like, I have zero interest in it. All I ever care about is, like, I applaud them and I wish them well on their journey, but every time I design something, I like to one up myself. I'm very hard on myself in terms of like, come on, man, we got to do something bigger. We got to do something bigger. And I guess me kind of attacking myself like that makes me just level up. Now, like, why do I think that I am the world's number one boxing designer? It's not that I think, it's just that I know the way I live and I know what I've done to get to this moment. So that's kind of why I'm like, you know what? I feel like I've done more than a lot of the guys that are out there that are just keeping the designs traditional rather than someone like me that started putting lights in outfits in 2016, like started making like hoodies that were removable magnetic, jackets that were magnetic removable, like outfits that are inside and out, like that you could flip them inside. So I was doing things that no one's even doing. And I noticed that a lot of other brands that already exist, now their work looks exactly like mine. So, I mean, that kind of tells you who was in first place.
I mean, let's be real. This is not something you wake up and say, "Hey, I'm a designer," especially in a sport like boxing.
Yeah.
So, talk to me a little bit about how you became a designer.
Well, the funny thing is that I I started this company as a t-shirt company. I got my own back was actually originally a personal training company, and it was a company that I started after an overdose that I had. And the name I got my own back is a company that I started. Basically, it was a brand that was about self-love, self-motivation, writing, being the writer of your own story and no longer sitting passenger seat. And I wanted to have a brand that when I put on, it's empowering. It's like when you wear Nike, you feel like you're the fastest athlete. When you wear Adidas, you also feel like you're just like all around like the best of the best. So I felt like I need to create a brand that makes you feel like that when you put it on, that makes you feel like you're your biggest cheerleader. And like I said, it started off as a personal training company because I was doing MMA before that and I was training in boxing. And I wanted to, I was like, I had to start all over again. So I said, I'm gonna go ahead and start a company and it's about self-love, self-empowering. And yeah, it became, at first it was a personal training company. People started liking the name on my business cards. And then I thought to myself, let me start a t-shirt company that says I got my own back. And I was criticized a lot in the beginning because they said that that's too long of a name to be a brand. So a lot of people told me that that wouldn't work, which is why I kind of did the abbreviation IGMOB, which that's why everybody calls me now IGMOB also when they see me. And so from a personal training company to a t-shirt company that was like self-empowering to, I always knew I wanted to jump into fashion. That's how I just jumped into boxing outfits after that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, going from shirts to now full-blown outfits,
Yeah.
there's something that has to have been there, whether you were a drawer, whether you used to create outfits, whether that was through Halloween. So how did that start before you even decided to do this company?
So funny thing is, even growing up, I always found myself like my dad. I think one of the coolest moments was watching him because we had a soccer team because I'm from Chilchota, Michoacan, and I think one of the coolest moments was seeing my dad design the logo and the soccer outfits for the team, and that kind of when I saw him drawing it, from that to going to the shirt when it was actually like screen printed on, and seeing all the uniforms that my dad designed, I think, and he was an artist, and so was I growing up. I got it from him. So I think watching him do that, and then me being I think let's go all the way back to when I was like 6 years old, discovering the music of Bon Jovi and seeing the way these guys are dressed. I always knew I liked fashion and clothing and kind of like standing out, and clothing being a sign of self-expression. So a mixture of that, going to my father, seeing him and the artworks that he used to do, and then, when he did the soccer team's outfits to now, me kind of seeing all that and knowing that one day I wanted to do fashion. But actually, there's another story to that though.
So when you're discovering all of that, when did you realize that it wasn't really a hobby?
I discovered it one night at Gods and Heroes at Costa Mesa, California. And I'm there. It's one of my drunken nights. I used to party a lot. So I got invited to Gods and Heroes because I was rolled with a big group of people. And Gods and Heroes was having a fashion show. And what they do is they collaborate with a tequila company and they do this big runway fashion show. And I went before I left. I had a drinking problem, so I went ahead and just filled up a glass with Absolute vodka, and I just chugged the whole thing. And I went to this event, and I just remember just standing there and watching, and I'm just like feeling emotional for some reason because I'm not really a big fan of where I am in my life at this point, just because I haven't really done anything. And it's, I'm out of high school, tried college, quit college, couldn't do the college thing. And I remember I'm there at this fashion show and I'm just completely hammered and I'm just looking everywhere. It's like blurred vision. And it got to a point where I was hugging a pole. I was so emotional. I was just hugging a pole, but I was just emotional because I was just like I said, felt like this was like a repetitive lifestyle of mine, just parties and drinking and pill popping. So I was like, this is just getting old. But in that moment, this woman comes out and she goes, "You guys ready?" And then I'm sitting there looking at the stage and I start seeing all these like outfits coming out one by one. And obviously the fashion show has started. And when I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, this is art on clothing." Like legitimately, like look at all the patterns that they're using. Look at the way that the designs like flow on the men and the women. And I got excited. I was really excited to see this because I'm used to seeing art like on canvases. And for the first time, I'm seeing art on like people. And I've never really, knew that you could really make art out of clothing. And in that moment, I'm seeing as each one is coming out and walking the runway, I'm getting more and more excited to see this. And then at the end, there's they introduced the designer, and I'm like, whoa, like that was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, and then this guy's coming out. As he comes out, he has like the biggest smile on his face, and he stands in the front. Everybody gives him a standing ovation as he slowly raises his hands up. As his hands go up, I notice that the smile just gets bigger and bigger. And when I saw that, I said to myself, I need to know what that feels like. Like that moment, that was the moment right there that I realized that I wanted to be a fashion designer, was that moment, because I knew I loved clothing. I knew, from watching my dad, from me discovering the 80s like music scene, and that moment of that man just standing up there, raising his arms up, I needed to know what that felt like. And I felt like that's right there where it started and why I knew that someday I needed to be a fashion designer.
What made you feel like that you would be different though in doing that? I mean, obviously you're looking at him, you have to have some sort of motivation, but not even motivation, but also feel like you must have been at a level where you felt like, "Hey, I can do this." Like, what made you feel like you could be different?
It's funny because that moment, I knew I wanted to do it, but the belief was still wasn't there. But I knew I wanted to do it because I knew that I could bring something different into the industry because I'm one of those guys that I could sit and stare at something and I'll design something just by looking at it. Whether it's a car, whether it's a painting on a wall. And it's funny because now as a designer, I have designed outfits based on things that I've seen like out in the streets. And I guess the fact that my brain works differently to a point where like when I see people, I see them as avatars where I can move clothing on top of them. Like I could see what it looks like on them. And it's funny because now I've had people tell me like, "Hey, when you designed for me, you put me in something that I didn't think I was gonna like and I ended up loving it." He's like, "How'd you know I was gonna like it?" I said, "Because I could already see it on you and I know it looks great and I know for a fact you were gonna like it." So I guess me from like since I was younger, like I always knew I had like an artistic mind. Like I loved art. So I always knew and I always felt inside like I was gonna do something big in an industry. I just didn't know which industry until that night. I figured, oh wow, it's fashion.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Santa Ana, California till I was 5 and Tustin till I was 10. And I've been in Irvine for the last 30 years.
What was your house like as a kid?
Well, in the beginning, we lived in Santa Ana, California, and we lived in a two-bedroom apartment. My uncle and my aunt and her two kids lived in the room next to us. We lived in the other room. It was myself, my father, both my brothers, my mom, and we literally just had a mattress on the floor. I just remember like it's yesterday. Like there was a mattress on the floor, and there was like a little like dresser on the side, and it was shit. That's childhood shit. So pretty much like Yeah, we lived in a like a very small apartment, obviously, and in obviously the ghettoest parts of Santa Ana, right down Fruit Street, next to the Orange County Register. And I guess that's like the only part of my life I wasn't really a big fan of, because that's like one of the most things like I experienced as a child. But yeah, pretty much from there, what's it called? Because the thing is, like when I was like a kid, like that age, like that's when I started working, which is funny because that's like a scene that I want to record till this day. Like it's been my dream to record this, because right there where Target's at, right there across the street on the other side of Fruit Street, right down the freeway, there's a Target there. And when I was a kid, 6 years old, back in the days when you put away the shopping cart, it used to give you a quarter. And that's how I would spend most of my mornings before going to school, is I would go there and push carts while my mom sat with both my brothers, because my dad had two jobs. My dad worked in the fields of Orange County picking oranges, and he also worked making sponges in a factory. So I never really saw him till the weekends because he worked all day. But during the mornings, I used to have to go up to the white people and ask him if I can push the cart for them back. So like that, I can make enough money so that myself, my brothers, and my mom could get burgers from the gas station.
Where did you find the need to have to do that at such an early young age?
My mom told me, like, come on, Jared, like she calls me Uni. Say, come on, Uni, like we gotta go help the, because we used to pick up cans. We used to do like little things like that, just kind of like get some money in, because we were like really in a really bad, like we were really in a really bad place, like financially. That's why my mornings I would spend it pushing carts, and then after that I would hang out at a church all day, because we didn't want to come home, because there was like a lot of family drama when there's a lot of families in one house. So like literally it was pushing carts in the morning, going to school after that. And then after that, we would hang out at church. And then after that, we would hang out at this older guy's house across the street, because my mom used to clean his house. And she became friends with like the older man, the older lady, and we were just kind of hang out there. So pretty much like the beginning years of my life was very much like that, where I started working very early. That's why I've always wanted to record that scene of like my mom standing in the curb, like sitting in the curb with both my brothers, and me just kind of like going back and forth with people pushing these carts. And it's crazy because you could ask my mom, she'll tell you the story. She'll be like, all that really did happen.
What was your understanding about life during that time?
Uh, I never knew it was gonna be like, I didn't know life was supposed to be this hard. And I didn't know it was supposed to be this hard because like I said, I didn't know life was supposed to be hard like that. You know what I mean? Because yes, I would see other kids out there playing and having fun, and like I had to do stuff like that. And it pretty much I think it's kind of like where the belief of I didn't deserve anything began, and I wasn't ever going to accomplish anything, or I would never be anybody special, just because simply because I didn't have it as a kid like that. And knowing that my dad obviously was like an orange picker and doing that stuff, I was like, shit, dude, like this is my life. Like this is what I'm destined to become. And especially because, as like a little kid, like you grow up with like very, very tough Mexican dad, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you get that kind of tough love. So it's like it makes you grow up like a very angry individual. And I guess that's why a lot of the bad stuff happened, growing up, because that's kind of where it all started when I was a kid.
What was your outlet during those times? Was there something that you would tell yourself, somebody you would talk to or vent to? What was your outlet
During when I was like that age, or
during that time?
during that time, it was funny because like I don't know if you guys know what a rosca is, but like it's like that bread that you cut, and it's got like the little babies inside. And it was funny because like that was like my first toy as a kid, like one of those little rosca toys. And I would talk to it like as if it was listening to me. And I would treat it well, as if I was the dad. And I was treating it as if I wish like this is how my life was. So that's how I would like cope with some of these things, you know what I mean? And it's weird, but like even rock and roll music, like I was a big like Bon Jovi fan, but like watching those videos, I just felt like one day I could probably be like that too, you know what I'm saying? Like a rock star and live that kind of exciting, fun life. So I kind of watched videos on people being happy, and I felt like maybe one day that could be me.
As an artist, we tend to daydream. Was there ever a time that you daydreamed about something that you still remember till this day?
It's funny because I grew up watching Tron is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I would watch that one and Back to the Future, which is obviously it's inspires a lot of my fashion and my somewhat of my nickname, but it's like watching those movies, I always felt like one day, like, I'm gonna live in this perfect place, right? Like, if you see Back to the Future, the second one, they travel into the future, and it's like this perfect world, and then Tron 2, you live in this, like, digital world that you create, so that to me was like that's like my heaven, like, I'm gonna one day live in this world where it's just perfect, and I would always escape reality by going there. Sometimes even, like, as now that I'm older, when I'm driving, I picture that I'm driving on a grid and my car is just floating. Like, it's like there's no wheels. I'm literally just looking at mountains and everything is just a grid, and it's weird because I can actually imagine these things and I feel weightless when I'm driving. So, as a kid, I grew up always imagining myself, like, on a hoverboard, like, kinda just, like, skating in my mind, and it's weird because I would dream that I would be in clouds on a half pipe, just on a skateboard, like on a hoverboard, just going up and down, and that's kinda how I would escape, like, just I literally just go into, like, different worlds and different places, and I guess that's why I'm so freaking creative now because I always escape my like, reality pretty much, and I create these places in my head.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Tell me how you were like at the ages of 12 to 15.
12 to 15, let's see here. That's kinda like where I started becoming, a little rebellious, and that's because I moved to Irvine. My parents moved me to Irvine when I was 10, and I showed up with my white pulled up socks, my Nike Cortezes, my flannel shorts, my Rollin' Hard t-shirts that I got at Miller's Outpost. And it's funny because during that time, I didn't know Irvine existed, and my dad moved us there because he got a job opportunity, and I had no idea that I was gonna face so much bullying, and I did. I was beaten up on the way to school, I was beaten up at school, and to make it worse, my mom and dad became volunteers at my school, and I remember one day, they both show up outside, and my dad's mowing the lawn, and my mom's got the leaf blower, and that pretty much killed it for me, and kids just didn't accept me after that. They saw me they literally looked at me like I was from another planet, like, "Who's this weirdo?" Right? And it's funny because there was even black kids there, and I became lower than everybody, like, even the like, my biggest bullies were the black kids, and then it was the white kids, right? And then because I was, like, the only Hispanic there, and they weren't used to seeing Hispanics, because obviously all of us were in Santa Ana and Tustin. So, during that time, it was just, a lot of crying at home and me pretty much begging my dad to move us back home, back to Tustin, because I didn't feel like I didn't feel like people really accepted me or my family in Irvine, and I remember the first weekend we were there, we went to church, and we were literally we stood out like a sore thumb, like, at mass, like, you just see us, little Mexican family right in the middle, and pretty much, like, I already grew up angry to begin with, right? I feel like you don't deserve anything, and then now you get moved to a place where everybody there makes you feel like you don't belong, so as you can see on the inside, like, the rage is just growing more and more, and I'm one of those guys that's just like a ticking time bomb, like, I'm gonna get ready to explode one day.
At that age, how are you processing what's actually happening? Like, what are you telling yourself is going on?
Again, I go back to I don't deserve anything, and I actually that was the first time at that age where I started getting suicidal thoughts, and that's when I started kinda thinking like, "I just rather not be here. If life is supposed to be this hard, what's the point of even being here?" Right? And it's because obviously everyone around me was making me feel like I didn't deserve anything or I wasn't good enough, and it's one thing that a lot of one of the number one things that are going around right now is suicide. And during that time, that's exactly what I was feeling in that moment was I just didn't really wanna be here anymore, and I started listening to heavier music, to be honest. That's why everything I do now looks like very heavy metal. Because during that time, I started listening to a band called Slipknot, and there's a song called Surfacing, which is pretty much saying "F you all," and that's kinda how I felt during that time in my life where I just, had it's like the happiness was taken away from me too young, so it's like after that, it was just misery and just anger, and I mean, people were saying like, "Dude, like, you weren't showing any of that." I wasn't really showing it, but inside I was a very angry and sad individual.
During those times when things like that happen, people tend to forget their identity and who they are. You were Mexican American, correct?
Yeah.
How did you feel about your identity and being Mexican American during those times?
There were those times I hated being Mexican and I hated my name Javier. And I think that's probably why I changed my name to JR. Because I felt like as soon as people were like, oh, Harviar, hate, and even the school teachers would make fun of my name, JVA, JVR. And I remember when I first moved to Irvine, even the school district was like, yeah, we're going to get rid of that little accento of yours. So it's like they really made me feel like being Mexican was like the lowest of the low. So then it got to a point where even I was like, damn, I wish I was white, and I did. And that's why I think I even started changing my style. I started dressing like a skater. I started trying to talk like a bro. And before you know it, I'm starting to change where who I really am. Because like I said, I arrived wearing like rolling hard shirts with lowriders and Aztec calendars and like really representing Mexico. And then it's like everyone got me to hate who I was. So I feel like my whole life I've been changing who I really am just to kind of please everyone.
When did the trouble really start for you?
Uh, well, the thing is, I got kicked out of high school. Like, I got arrested. Junior year in high school, I got arrested, and no school would take me but Creekside High, also originally known as Self, which is a school. It's a continuation school. And when I got there, yes, I literally was around all my people, which made me feel like I felt loved for the first time. And it's like they say, if you don't feel that at home, obviously you find it in the streets. And I found it at my new school with a bunch of little bad boys. And I guess that's kind of where the drinking really started because my friends and I would kind of like run away from school to kind of go home and drink at my dad's house because we always had like these little shooters. So we would always just go there and just start pounding them. And from there, like I didn't graduate class of '03. I ended up being class of '04 because I had to be a super senior. And right after, and then the thing is, my family didn't really look, I know they're gonna hate me for this, but they did not look proud of me because I didn't graduate from a regular school. They felt like I graduated from a school full of like handicapped kids pretty much. So I guess being a disappointment and graduating from a school that they weren't even proud of or proud to say like, hey, like our son graduated. Like I didn't feel any of that. I didn't feel the excitement, didn't feel the emotion that other kids felt. And again, this is where the rage just continues on the inside and the anger and the feeling of like not being good enough. And then I ended up graduating this continuation school. And then after that is when the real pretty much madness happened.
When you think about the word trouble, it's really when you get caught. What did trouble look like for you?
It was cause like I said, now I had an accident. I had an MMA accident where they tore all the ligaments in my knee. I was so angry that I joined MMA, OC Fight Club, and MMA right here in like Irvine area. I joined this MMA gym, and
How old were you?
at this time now, I am 19, 20 years old, and they reconstructed my whole right knee, and they gave me Vicodin to kind of ease the pain after they rebuilt my knee and pretty much connected all the ligaments because your knee bends like this, mine went like that. So they gave me Vicodins, which then Vicodin became something that I also became addicted to because I used to break them, put them in my vodka or whiskey, and I used to drink them and try to always get double the high off of it.
So you had mentioned earlier that you were kind of going into some gang activities or activities that were out in the streets. Was that something you continued to do during this time, or is that something that you already let go and you were just going solo at this point?
Oh no, at the age of 23, I started hanging out with some bad seeds. So first the drinking's getting worse and the pill popping is getting worse and pretty much anything I can get my hands on. Like I would just find pills, but I want to take them. Guys would show up to house parties. Oh, I want to try this new thing. I wanted anything and everything just to kind of numb the pain of my trauma as a kid growing up, everything that I ever experienced, the bullying, being the family punching bag. Like I just wanted to just escape reality from the moment I woke up, which is why as soon as I would wake up, I'd start drinking, I'd start popping my pills. And by the end of the night, I was always found behind bars, etc. And pretty much that led me now to my new life, which was hanging out with gangsters. And that's where kind of everything went south because yeah, like you see things that you're not supposed to, right? And those could be very traumatizing, you know what I mean? Like from seeing, from getting invited to places where you're like, oh shit, like these women are being sold, you know what I mean? To like, oh snap, these houses have a lot of drugs in them. So like, oh snap, these guys are selling guns. Like, yeah, so I got a chance to see that, all that kind of stuff, which really like showed me a very dark side of the world. And it's kind of like I already lived in a dark place in my head. So all this just made me feel like, damn, the world is a dark place. And I kind of got stuck in that darkness and I kind of started falling more and more into it to a point where like, yeah, even one time, one of the guys, you would say I was kidnapped pretty much because they didn't let me leave for like a week. And I was in this house and I remember one of the guys was so drugged up that he even like walked up, pointed a shotgun at me, and the dude actually pulled it and he thought it was loaded because he starts laughing like a maniac. So when he laughed like a maniac, he's like, "Mother effer, you were meant to live because I thought this thing was loaded." So that's how you know, like, I was already hanging out with, like, the wrong people at this point because now it's funny because in that moment when he said, "What if I would've killed you?" I told him, "You would've done me a favor." So that just to kinda show you, like, the kinda headspace I was at, that I didn't even care, to be honest, if he killed me because I was like, "You know what? I've been trying to die my whole life, so I don't really care if you do the favor for me." You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, when I, obviously started hanging out with some bad people, then, it's when all the madness started happening and I got into a lot of trouble.
During those times, like, what are you chasing? What are you looking for?
It's funny, I thought I was chasing money and happiness because I literally watched movies like Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, Scarface, and these guys look so happy when they're like, gangsters, or like hanging out with people that are lost angels like themselves. So I felt like that's maybe where the happiness is then for people like me. So yeah, I mean, I had money and you know what I'm saying? I was walking around with a gold-plated cell phone. I got a chance to drive yachts, nice cars, you know what I mean? And it was to a point where I was like, I have money and I have all these things, but I feel a huge hole in my chest still, which only goes to show you that what I was chasing and what I thought because we all think money is like happiness. We all think once we have it, like that's the answer to everything. Obviously, like I said, I started off as a 6-year-old kid pushing shopping carts, right? So I mean, my mind was trained to think like money solves everything. So now that I'm older and I have money and all that fun stuff, I'm walking around with like 10K in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm over even my dad says, he goes, "Remember when you took that picture of $20,000 at the age of 23?" Because I'm literally there like with like 20 grand like this. Like, it was one of those stupid pictures when I was young. And then, like I said, like I realized when I was with a bunch of people that I was like, none of these people even care about me or love me, or they're all only here because I'm inviting her. I took out like 15 people once to eat, friends of mine. And I was like, wait, none of these people even really care about me. I feel like they're just here because I'm buying them free food. So you kind of tend to attract the wrong people during this time. And I felt like maybe I thought to myself, I was like, yo, this is maybe where I'm gonna find my real friends. Now in reality, I found a bunch of people that I just later learned I never wanted to be friends with and they never really cared about me.
Let's take it back a little bit because you spoke about doing drugs. I
Yeah.
want to dive into that a little bit more. When did the drugs enter the pictures? And let's just dive a little bit deeper on that.
So pretty much like at the age of 22, 23, that's kind of like when I started getting heavier with it because I would wake up in the morning and just start popping pills, drinking alcohol, and I would literally on the way to work, I'd stop by the liquor store. In the morning, it would be vodka and orange juice. On the way to work, it would be whiskey and Coke. By the time I got to work, I would drink little shooters. So, and then I would pop the pills. And literally, like, as soon as I felt like it was fading, boom, I'd pop some pills. Or as soon as I felt like it was fading, boom, I'd go ahead and just take another, like, I would drink another shooter. And after that, before you know it, obviously I had friends who marijuana was big during this time. And obviously, they would bring me like the freaking gas mask where you freaking light that up and your whole face gets smoked out white. So literally it just kept getting worse and worse to a point where almost every night, that's when my dad had to go pick me up outside of bars, or I would punch a bartender, or I got in a fight, or I got in an argument with someone, and I was always getting kicked out of places or found. My dad even like had to pick me up once because I was in a bathtub. I don't even know how I got there. I was in the back of alleys. Like before you know it, now I'm passing out in places and I'm going and I'm just drinking at bars, etc. So it's like I literally was just becoming a mess, like little by little, especially because, like I said, my life had no direction. Dirty money, like, and it was like, you know what, like, what am I doing nowadays? So it's like, yeah, it just the worse you feel about yourself, the more happy you try to make yourself. So that's why you start kind of experimenting with these things, like with these substances, because you feel like, damn, I don't want to feel down anymore. So let me just go ahead and pop another pill. Let me just drink again. And I think that's when it actually started getting worse and worse.
So earlier you had mentioned that you were at an event and that something happened, and so then that's when you first started using Vicodin, right?
Yeah.
During that accident. So talk to me about that first day when you first took the Vicodin. How did that make you feel?
Oh man, it's like morphine at the hospital. So I was like, so I remember like, because I've been shot up with morphine before, because obviously my right knee reconstruction, I've had stomach surgery. So it's like, oh man, when I first tried a Vicodin, it was like the best warming sensation throughout your whole body. And literally, like, you just feel like just going to sleep. Like, you just feel so relaxed. I was like, damn, imagine this with alcohol. So that's kind of like, I wanted to get like a bigger high out of it. And even if I had to mix other pills too, like, I didn't even care. Like I said, it could have been dangerous to mix different kinds of pills. Some of these pills, they had like weird names. I didn't know what they were, but I just wanted to mix them just to get some kind of like numb feeling. So the first time I ever tried Vicodin, it was such a numb feeling that I was popping them I was taking 2 every 3 hours,
How
2 to 6
fast
hours.
how fast did it get out of control?
I would say within the first few weeks, because I was no longer taking them because of the pain. I was now taking them because of how it felt. And
And
as soon as I felt it wearing out, boom, boom.
that was gonna be my next question. What was the drug doing for you emotionally?
What was it doing for me emotionally? It was like just not letting me think about anything. I just literally just felt like I was in a have you ever felt really sleepy and you just want to like go to sleep? And you feel that it's like laying in the most comfortable pillow ever in the most perfect position where you're just like, okay, now I can just fall asleep. That's kind of what it felt like, where you don't think about anything, just about how tired you are. And I feel like that's what these pills did for me, where I just didn't think about anything anymore. All I felt was the numbness, and just like I said, just like laying on it. It just felt like, even though I was standing up, I felt like I was on like a cloud, just ready to just fall asleep. And yeah, it would make me feel like that throughout the day. And I loved the feeling so much of escaping reality that I just felt like I needed to be on that 24/7.
Most people that get into things like this, it's just because they have an enormous amount of things that are going on in their head and what they've been through. For you, what was it quieting the most? What pain was it quieting the most?
For some reason, I didn't even mention this, but since I was a kid, I've been dreaming the apocalypse, which is weird. Like, I don't know why, but like now going into like some weird shit, like I don't know why since I was a kid I've been dreaming the end of the world. I don't know why. It's just something like it's kind of like in the movie The Terminator, the second one, where you see like kind of like the world kind of ending, and then like, the AI world turns on. Like, I've been dreaming the end of the world, and it would freak me out. So it's funny because I have nightmare tattooed on my arm, and the reason why I have nightmares because used to suffer from nightmares a lot. And I feel like it was a lot because of like how much was going on in my head. I was losing my mind and overthinking, stress, anxiety, all the panic that I was, experiencing. I felt like all of that was starting to mess with my head to a point where like I literally was living life paranoid. And yeah, I was even in therapy for it because, I kind of started going down the rabbit hole pretty much because of it. And it's weird because one night that my dad picked me up from a bar outside, he threw me in the back seat, and we had to pull over literally like 2 minutes after that because I just started vomiting like crazy outside. And my dad goes, "What the heck is wrong with you? You said you were going to do big things." And I said, and this is crazy because I actually did tell him, I said, "Look," I said, "something bad's going to happen to me. I don't know what it is, but something bad's going to happen to me." I'm like, "But when that moment comes, that's when I'm going to become a brand new person." So I actually already knew that something bad was going to happen to me. And it's weird. Like I said, I feel things. And then like from, seeing the apocalypse in my dreams, like that kind of like messed with me as a kid. Cause you're like, why am I dreaming like all this end of the world shit? So yeah, it kind of messed with me for a while. But I think it was because like just there was just so much darkness in my head that I just kept like wanting the world to end. Maybe that was probably why. So when I would do the Vicodins and stuff like that, it would kind of like help me not think negative anymore and just would shut my brain out because I felt like it was just so loud up there.
So it sounds like your dad was questioning you, like you said you were going to be something. Like, do they know how bad it actually was, your drug addiction?
They started seeing it once I started kinda losing weight and, my face, like, was starting to kinda get skinny, and, now that they're finding me, like, on, a daily basis in different areas, they're like, "Okay, this guy's got a problem," you know what I mean? And, it got to a point where sometimes I don't even know how I got home and say my parents are hardcore Catholic, so my dad's like, "Did you see that this guy doesn't even have the band in the front of the car, the one that makes the car turn?" He goes, "How the hell did this guy get home?" Like, there's so many unexplainable things that have happened to me that my dad's like, "This guy is meant to live because I don't even know how he makes it home so many times," you know what I mean? And they did. They started to realize that I had a problem. And, but obviously me being a stubborn ass, like, teen, like, guy in my 20s, you really think I'm gonna listen, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like it was kind of dragging for a very long time. Now, do you feel like it's something that you were very good at hiding, or do you feel like it was just something that you guys just weren't really talking about?
I was very good at hiding it, and I was also never really home, so they wouldn't really see it. But I literally was just it's funny because even my friends, like, after I had my accident, my overdose, even they didn't even know how depressed I was. They were surprised that I was even trying to kill myself. They were like, "What? You were, like, the light of the party. You were, the loudest one, the guy who was trying to hype everybody up, and now all of a sudden, like, we find out you freaking were trying to kill yourself this whole time." So, yeah, I did a pretty good job, like, hiding it.
Take me to 2011. What happened that day?
It's crazy because like, the night before, February 17, 2011, which is February 16th, the night before that, it felt like it was already gonna be my last night. Like, it was weird, but I felt it. That accident that was coming, that I kind of, like, saw in my head, I felt like, it's gonna happen now. Like, it already just felt like it. I haven't eaten any food now for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. It's just been straight alcohol and pills, so my body's already just, like, shutting down. And I remember the night before, like, we're at this karaoke place, like, and all my friends are in there, and there's cocaine, there's everything, literally, like, it just looked like it just I was so freaking, like, everything was so foggy that I look over and I see people, like, hooking up on the floor, like, people doing drugs over here, like, people snorting over there, and this is, like, during the times that I'm working at Armani Exchange, so it's obviously I was hanging out with a lot of little fashionistas and designers, and I didn't realize this is how they all got down, but, like, literally, I'm in there, and we're all just freaking just drinking and smoking and these guys were just everyone was just going apeshit, and after that, as I told everybody, "Alright, guys, like, I gotta get out of here," and it was, like, 2 o'clock in the morning already, and I remember as I was leaving, like, nothing felt right anymore. I felt like this is like, as I'm walking, I felt like these are my last steps. As I get in my car, I felt like this is one of the last times I'm gonna get in my car. As I go home, I felt like this is, like, one of the last moments, and in that moment, I was like, "Dude, I don't think I'm gonna wake up tomorrow." Like, I just feel it right now, like, this is February 16th now, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, right?" And I just felt like everything just felt like it was gonna be over already, like, the next day, and I felt it because my body was already shutting down on me, and the next day I woke up and I was like, "Dude, I gotta go get, like," and I woke up the next day, but everything just felt like, "Okay, this is it," like, it's weird to feel like that you're gonna die, and that's exactly what I felt February 17, 2011 when I woke up. I felt like, "Dude, I feel like I'm dying," like, I just felt it. I just felt my whole body just, like, super awkward, and I remember I got in my car and I went to the Irvine Spectrum, and I was like, "I gotta go get a Jamba Juice, I need something cold." So I went there, and then as soon as I get there, it's funny because even when I'm ordering the drink, I'm like, "Can I get a orange dream machine?" Like, I could barely even talk. And the lady's like, "Are you okay? Should I call 911? You look very pale and your eyes are like blood red." And I was like, "Just give me my fucking drink." So I told her, "Just give me my effing drink," right? So she gives me my drink. And the scariest part of all this was as I'm walking out, I drink it and it felt like I was drinking dry cardboard. So I've lost any kind of like feeling in my mouth where I didn't taste the coldness of this ice drink that I'm drinking. I didn't taste the coldness. I didn't taste the sweetness of the vanilla and the orange, like, and I freaked out. Like my whole body just went into shock. And I remember I called my dad, like I'm shaking, and I call my and as I'm walking now, imagine just turning these lights on and off. Like that's kind of what was happening to my vision, where It's like on, off, like just simply just open and close your eyes. And that's exactly what was happening, except my eyes were fully open, but everything was just going play like pitch black.
Do you remember realizing you were dying?
I called my dad shaking and I said, "Abba, I'm like, I don't feel well." And he goes, he did. He goes, he remembers too. He goes, "I told you this shit was gonna catch up to you." And he hangs up on me. So he hangs up on me. I was like, damn, like, what the heck am I gonna do now? So I'm like, I gotta go home. So as I'm walking, literally like everything's turning black and like my body starts to like shut down. My stomach feels like somebody's literally just dragging like a freaking knife through it. It's just the most uncomfortable, weirdest feeling in my stomach. And I'm losing like strength in my body. And then I get in the car and as I'm driving, like I start to pull out of the parking structure and I realize, okay, I'm not gonna make it home. Like if I keep going, I'm gonna get hit by a freaking car, right? Like my car's getting hit. So I try to do a U-turn with like, well, this arm went dead, so like I couldn't even like move it anymore. This whole left side just went numb, and I started like turning the wheel. And as I turned the wheel, I went up a curb, and I was like, damn, I put it on park with like the last bit of energy that I had. And I remember calling 911, and I literally there was a 24-hour fitness right there where it happened. And I remember all I said was 24-hour. And then, like, "Alright, what's your emergency? You're 20" and then literally before they can even respond, the freaking phone just died on me.
What's the last thing you remember seeing or feeling?
I just remembered, like, now my whole body just died on me, and as I'm looking in the mirror, I'm just sitting there thinking, like, "This is it, like, this is the moment, like, you've been dreaming of since you were little, like, this is the moment, like, this is it, like, this is where it all ends, like, it's done, like, your story is gonna end here now." And as I looked in the rearview mirror, I knew that now, like, it's like my life is over now. Like, this is it. This is where it all ends. And I just remembered everything. I just looked in the mirror and I just remembered everything just went pitch black. Now, everything went pitch black, but it was kind of like the movie Stranger Things, where, where 11 like is like standing in this black room and just kind of like, in every direction you look at, you just see darkness. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, dude, I'm in hell now. Like, where's the light? Like, this is all darkness. And literally, it's like my whole life just flashed before my eyes, like just completely just flashed. Like, so I saw my whole life from like the moment I was born to like now the moment where I'm at right now. And it's like every pain, it's because, when I lived life hiding so much of my pain and not really feeling things and kind of just feeling numb to a point where in that moment, it's like everything hit me at once, like from the tears, the cries, the screams, the rejection, everything just kind of hit me at once. And when it hit me, it's like, yeah, it was like a movie of my life played in front of me. And when that happened, it's like I was finally brought down to my knees and I was asking God for forgiveness. And I was a guy who didn't really believe in anything, even though my parents, I grew up Catholic. In that moment, I didn't really feel like, in that moment for the first time, like I knew that there was a God. I was like, yo, there is a God, because for the first time, I'm actually feeling all these emotions at once. And I remember like asking for forgiveness, and I literally was started talking to God for the first time in my life. And I said, you know what? I apologize for the way I've been living my life. I apologize for all the people I hurt. I apologize for the things that I've done. And if you would have given me a second chance, I would not live life sitting here, feeling sorry about my past or the way I grew up. I should have been more thankful. And instead of comparing my life to others, instead of like, wanting the world, wanting like easy money and stuff like that, I was like, I would have done things a lot different. So in that moment, yeah, I'm like screaming and I'm like asking for forgiveness, but I already think like, yo, this is it. Like from here, I'm probably, like just never gonna wake up ever again, which was a scary feeling to be somewhere that you don't even know where it is, not knowing if you're even gonna ever wake up.
You said you died and they brought you back. When you woke up, what did that do to your head?
But it's weird because in that moment, as I'm praying and as I'm screaming and all that, like I literally like started hearing voices at a distance and it started to freak me out. It's kind of like hearing like, "Whoa," like that, right? Just like, and I'm just freaking out, looking in every direction. And before you know it, like these voices are getting louder and louder and louder and louder to the point where I just opened my eyes up. And when I opened my eyes up, there were paramedics working on top of me, and I realize now that those voices that I heard at a distance were actually the paramedics saying, you know, like, stay with us," and when I remember when they said, "He's awake," like, I in that moment, they said, "He's awake," and I remember, like, I just see 2 guys just, like, running around, pouring all these liquids down my throat, and I don't even know what's going on. I just see myself hooked up to things in my car, and I look through my rearview mirror, and I remember, you know, when I was asking for forgiveness, you know, I one of the things I asked God was to let me see my family one last time, and it's crazy because in that moment, when I did open my eyes, the first person I saw in my rearview mirror was my mom, and I look back at my mom screaming, "That's my son," and I think that was one of the moments that it kinda really hit me the hardest because I knew, like, I had disappointed my whole family all this time because I never really accomplished anything, and I let my anger kind of, like, lead me and guide me in life and let others kinda take advantage of that to a point where this is where my life ended up now, you know, I have nothing to be proud of. I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. I lived life escaping reality and kinda just numbing it, doing a lot of things, like I said, that I just could wish I can go back and change, but it got to a point where, yeah, I saw my mom crying and screaming, and I couldn't even do anything. My body was just there, just lifeless, pretty much. And in that moment, I remember telling God, like, you know, "Thank you for this moment of letting me see my mom one more time." And I saw my brother there too, and they were both just trying to get through, and obviously the police wasn't letting them. In that moment, pretty much, I just, everything went black once again, and pretty much I woke up hours later.
So you wake up, what are you feeling? Are you ashamed, scared, angry, relieved?
I I feel a lot of sadness when I woke up, and that's like when the doctor came in and he said, "Well, look, you have 2 choices in life from this day forward. Like, you saw how that lifestyle got you. Your parents told me what you've been doing, who you've been hanging out with, you know, the substance abuses, they kind of made me catch up to all the things you've been up to." He's like, "So, that's where your life ends if you continue like that. But if you decide to change your life, your story could end very differently." He goes, "How did you feel knowing that your story could have ended right there?" And I'm like, ashamed, embarrassed, disappointed. He goes, "Well, think about that next time you're gonna go into the ground, how you want to feel." And that kind of like stuck with me. And yeah, pretty much like when I was finally released, I told my dad, I said, "I need to be in the car for a second." He's like, "You're gonna be okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be fine." So I pretty much sat in the car and I told myself, I said, "Look, when you walk out of this car, you can never, ever go back to that ever again. So you need to scream as hard as you can." I did. I screamed like a freaking maniac. I was punching the steering wheel. I was punching the inside of the car. I was screaming, yelling. And then after that, like I screamed to a point where I literally lost my voice. And then after that, I cried like crazy. I just started remembering my whole life, everything, and I told myself, "Okay, look, once you step out of this car, you will no longer live in the past because the thing is, you're writing a book about your life. You got the page halfway open and you continue to look back. You have to flip that page and start writing a brand new story starting today." And in that moment, I said, "You will accept that nothing comes easy. You will accept that everything comes with struggle. You will accept that you are starting all over again. You will accept the fact that right now you're probably looking at 15 to 20 years in prison," because I got into some serious trouble, right? Which is another reason why I overdosed because I got into a lot of trouble. And then, so I said, "Look, you're going to rebuild your life. You're gonna what I don't know what it is that you're gonna do, but you're gonna rebuild your life. You're gonna do things all over again. You're gonna start all over. And now at this point, a new journey begins, right? And what is that gonna be called? I have no idea. I don't know what my new life's gonna be called. I don't know what this new journey is that I'm about to embark on. All I know is that I'm letting go of the past. I'm accepting everything that happened. I'm moving forward. I'm gonna pretty much I've dug myself into this hole that I will not now I will dig myself out of. And as soon as I walked out of that car, I felt super weightless and like a huge weight just got lifted off my shoulder.
So you go home, you throw everything away, or how does that look?
I walked into the house. I threw everything away. I had a refrigerator next to my bed. I dumped out all the alcohol. I dumped out all the pills. The weed that I had hidden, I freaking flushed it down the toilet. Pretty much everything just, and then all around my room, I had angels with their rings roped off. I had like freaking all these crazy, like depressing pictures and quotes and everything about darkness. So I just took everything down, everything, just grabbed everything, threw it away. And I remember in that moment also what I did was I found this picture that I had in my closet, which I remember this picture because I bought it specifically because when I was in therapy, my therapist told me if I could escape, where would it be? And it ended up being Bora Bora, which is somewhere I've always wanted to go. Beautiful island, just nothing but green, light trees. As a guy who's always been in darkness, I wanted to be in the light. So I knew like, okay, you know what? This is my goal now. So I had this picture of Bora Bora, which it was the only thing on my wall. I just put it up. And, I put that picture up, I threw everything away, and I told my parents, look, I need you guys to just kind of look after me. Don't ever bring up my past anymore. I'm gonna go on this new journey where I want to be somebody. I want to do something with my life. Just don't talk to me about my past. Don't get angry with me anymore about the things that I've done. Please forgive me for everything that I've done. It's gonna be a brand new journey now from this day forth. And the crazy thing is it actually got a lot harder after that.
And that's what I was gonna ask you. What did the withdrawal look like for you?
So I was like, man, I just went into a whole freaking just like it's insane asylum within the four walls. And it's like I was in my parents' room and I told my parents, like, no matter what happens, like just let me be in here. And that's when I started punching walls. That's when I started sweating, the headaches, the shakes, like going like this, like, and then I would even try to like, I was even drawing like eyes and like weird stuff in books. Like I was drawing all this weird stuff because I just couldn't calm my brain down. And I remember like I would always just, like, look at that picture and be like, "I'm gonna go to Bora Bora someday." And it's funny because, like, I was normal, like, the first day, but then after that, I just started freaking out, like, as the weeks went by, it started getting worse where, like, I have headaches. I'm sticking my head under the shower, and I'm just letting cold water hit me. I'm trying to take cold showers to, like, hot showers to try to get rid of the shakes, the goosebumps that I was feeling. I started getting a lot of headaches. My body would go into, like, crazy sweat mode. I would shake, I would fiend for these things, and I lost my job because obviously, like, I stopped going, my friends disappeared. I did grab my phone, I threw it away in the ocean. I just lost communication with the world for, like, the next year, and the crazy thing is I got a temporary job, and I feel like this is God's way of testing me, but when I was doing this, like, in my room, I was like, "I gotta get out of this place, man, like, I'm gonna freak out in here because it was like I felt like I was with just, like, and it's bouncing off the walls the whole time, and I still have the books till this day with all the weird drawings and, like, the life goals, and the funny thing is, during this time, I go and I get a job at this temp agency, and guess what I have to do for a living now for, like, the next month? I'm working at a job where my job title is alcohol dumper, which means I have to dump alcohol bottles out. This is a place that makes alcoholic drinks. And now what I have to do for the next months is dump out alcohol bottles in this big sink. So imagine as a guy who's literally losing his mind because he can't have a cocktail anymore or anything, any kind of substances. Now my job is for 8 hours a day to just pour bottles. And yes, the scent is coming up my nose, but I'm like, oh man, like, and I'm shaking even more. And even my manager was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm just pouring these out. And he goes, and then after that, like, I would pour these things out for, like, 6 hours, and I have to go shred papers for, like, the next 2, so it's like, that's literally, like, after that, it was just me kinda going insane, punching walls, kinda, like, running around in circles, going crazy, and that's actually where I discovered my company, right when I was in that room.
But why do it alone? Was it pride, or you just didn't trust anybody, or was it just control?
I didn't trust anybody. Everybody that ever came into my life, I either hurt or they hurt me or I hurt them, so I felt like in order for me to understand life now, I have to start with me, which is I have to love myself. And I felt like if I had anybody else help me, I am no longer doing this on my own. Like now I'm going to always rely on people. So to me, it was more like I have to do this on my own. I can't let anybody help me because if I do, it means that I'm giving them the power to help me out instead of me giving myself that power, instead of me lifting myself back up. Right. And that's kind of where I was like, I remember I was telling myself, I was like, "Nah, man, I gotta do this on my own, like, I gotta get myself out of this. I'm the one that dug myself this hole, like, I'm not gonna let anybody pull me out." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "I got this shit on my own, I got my own back." And I was like, "Oh, snap. That's a badass quote I just said." And pretty much, like, when I said I got my own back out loud, that's kinda where the brand was born.
Throughout that whole time, what was the hardest hour?
The hardest one was literally, it was mainly the nights because at night I couldn't shut my brain off, and literally there were times where I was just staying awake and just kind of like scratching my hands and like just continuing to draw more. And it was just like it got to a point where one day I did actually go and I opened up a bottle, and that was like the hardest part because I actually did go and I opened it up and I had it right in front of me, and I was actually really good. And I had to calm my freaking mental state of mind by sniffing it. So I was sniffing. I started smelling Don Julio. So I opened up a bottle of Don Julio, and I literally just started smelling it, just like these big inhales to kind of like calm myself. And I did. And I was so close to drinking that night that I was like, you know what? No, man. Like, you knew this was going to be part of this. Like, you have to cut it cold turkey. I didn't go to AA, nothing like that. So I literally just went, poured the whole bottle out to avoid drinking it. And I went back into my room, continued shaking, but I'm glad I never took that sip.
So you mentioned that the brand started during that time. When you said that phrase, "I got my own back," what is it about that that made you feel like, "Oh, yo, this is something like I
I
gotta
think
find
it's the
it."
way I felt in that moment, because I felt so much happiness just thinking, like, I got my own back, like, the name just sounded so hard, I was like, "Yo, like, this is a cool name, like, to do something with, because like, I like the way I feel when I say it, you know? It just means, like, I'm in charge, for the first and I did, I felt like for the first time in my life because I didn't drink that thing, I was like, "Yeah, we gotta drink that Don Julio." I was like, "You know what? I'm in charge now. I don't have to, like, rely on this stuff anymore." Like, I was able to do that. I knew I wanted to start a business, I just didn't know what kind of business, so then I started watching boxing videos on, YouTube, and, I wasn't even watching TV, nothing, but then one day I just decided, like, 7 months in, I was like, I'm gonna watch some boxing." And I'm there just watching boxing, and as I'm watching it, I'm watching the outfits, and I'm like, "Yo." I grabbed my book, I was like, "One day I'm gonna design a boxing outfit," not even thinking, like, one day I am gonna do boxing outfits, so I'm like, "You know what? Also, one day I'm gonna design on a movie, I'm gonna work on a movie." Yeah, I wanna work on a show too, screw it. So then, like, now I'm, like, planning things out. "Oh, man, Imma work on you know what? I'm gonna do an outfit for someone on the biggest stage. One day I'm gonna start a t-shirt brand." Yeah, and I'm drawing, like, all these little things, like, it's like it looks like kids, like, artwork, like, the way I'm looking at it, the way I'm designing it. So I'm drawing all these things that I wanna do, and I'm like, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna do this." You know what? I think I wanna be a personal trainer, so I'm gonna start personal. So then I started designing my personal training shirt, right? So literally, like, I just started coming up with ideas, and I noticed that the more excited I was about ideas, the more I watched YouTube videos on entrepreneurs, the more my brain started just fading away and away from my past and fading away and away from the drugs and, the sensation of wanting to feel that, like so before you know it, like, it was hard for me to let go of it, and now before you know it, I'm actually, like, living life, learning things, and educating my mind, and I noticed the more I did that, the more further away the substances, like, became.
So you're in that room and you're drawing. When you look back at it, what were you really building? Was it a brand, a new identity? What was it?
I was what I was really doing was writing a brand new story. That's what I was doing. I wanted to write a brand new story about my life, one that I was actually proud of, and I even wrote in there that I wanted to one day speak at schools and teach them what I now learned, that, money's not everything, that escaping reality sometimes isn't the best, especially with your choices you make, and maybe not everybody's out there trying to, help you better your life. A lot of people are out there just to kind of screw your life even way more, so sometimes you have to kind of take, life by the wheel and you decide what the destination is.
You design for big people like Ryan Garcia, Canelo, Benavides. What's different about designing for the stars versus a kid who was first drawing on a piece of paper?
The thing is back in the days when I would draw pictures, I would only imagine what these things could look like. And now the cool thing is actually getting a chance to bring these things to life. So it's like I love the fact that now that I can, like, when I found my book of drawings and accomplishments, I was like, dude, one day I'm gonna work on a movie, and I did. I worked on Creed. Said one day I'm gonna work for the biggest names in the industry, and I did. I got Canelo, I got Ryan. One day my work's gonna be seen around the world, and if you look at a lot of my stuff, it's gone viral. So it's like, it's cool to see that everything I've ever wanted to do, I'm finally doing it. And it honestly, I wish you could see my drawings because they literally look like chicken scratch. Like it was just like shitty little drawings, and but to me they meant the world because that's where my mind was at, and I was just already kind of throwing it out to the universe that I was, I'm gonna do this. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna figure it out. And I guess that's that dedication. It's funny because back in the days I used to connect people to do bad things, and now I just connect people so we can all do cool things together. So it's funny how you can change everything that I used to do, which wasn't for good, and now I'm doing it in a positive way. So that's kind of cool.
So you've been doing this for a long time. How's the difference between designing for a star and also maybe somebody that's on their first card for the first fight?
You know what the funny thing is? I treat everybody the same, right? Like, let's just say it's a pro debut, right? And a guy that's already like made a name for himself, this, and that. I treat everybody the same simply, and I design for them the same simply because when I got into the industry, it's exactly why I never wanted to try at life because there's no support. Nobody believes in you, nobody wants to help you, and everybody kind of just like puts you in the back burner or, doesn't really want to open up doors for you. So like that kid that I just designed a SpongeBob outfit for, he says, "I'm 16. I grew up watching you for the past 5 years, and my dream's been for you to design for me." To me, it's an honor when somebody says that, something like that, because he said it himself. I grew up watching your outfits, and now I finally get the opportunity to get one done for you. So whether you're Canelo or whether you're a pro debut, everybody gets the same treatment and even the same prices because I don't change my prices based on who you are. I believe in you got to treat everybody equal because it makes you have that kind of reputation like, hey, this guy's honest. And like I said, I've met a lot of dishonest people in my life, and which is, a reason why I kind of had to turn my back on a lot of them. And this has made me build long lasting relationships the way I do things now.
What do fighters not understand about what you put into their outfits?
What's funny is that there's one thing that offends me, and it's not even the fighters, it's their corner guys, and I really hope they see this part because, like, when I design for fighters, some of these guys sleep in the outfit, some of these guys cry, some of these guys call me because they're like, "That's exactly what I imagined," or, "You know what? I never even thought that this is what we were gonna come up with, but this is beautiful." It's funny because they understand, and I don't feel like a lot of the industry realizes how important these outfits are, and it's simply because like, one of my biggest pet peeves is when a fighter, his coach takes off his jacket and he just throws it. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, I beat my brain designing that. I beat my brain choosing those fabrics. My employees beat their bodies and mind to put these things together because they are pieces of art. It's like a man that just painted a canvas and you hand it to him and he just throws it. It's like, you don't do that. And I feel like that's what I want them to understand. Like, this isn't just a piece of garment. This is a part of their history. This is a part of like their life now. And I feel like people just need to respect the fact that it's not just a t-shirt that you're just throwing on.
For the boxing community, what's something that they never see?
They don't see, and it's funny because the quote's over there, to create beauty, my life goes through pain. They don't see that I still fight my demons sometimes. They don't see that I'm such a nice guy that I have let people take advantage of me. They don't see that there are a lot of people that still owe me money. They don't see that I still have to come out of pocket for a lot of projects, including in the boxing industry. You're like, come on, man, do this for me. I do a lot for you. There's a lot of that. You know what I mean? So they don't see the real struggle behind doing all this. And not only that, but I'm one guy. I design everything. I don't pay designers to do my work. It's like the shoe surgeon, right? The man's got his own brand, but he's got a bunch of designers that do the shoes for him. I'm IGMOB. I'm the future. I'm the guy that's actually physically designing each and every outfit that you see out there. And I feel like that's what they got to understand. Like, yo, what you get from me is a one of a kind piece. And there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes behind it because it's not easy to put together these these designs, and it's not easy to come up with these things. It's a passion that I have and I love, and I just kind of wish that I really do wish that one day they could spend all that there's like a video where they see like all the process that it takes to really come up with these things.
When you look at your old self, what do you feel?
My old self. Well, pretty much when I look at my old self now, I love the fact that it's kind of like files in my head that are being deleted through time. And I feel like a lot of the old me has already pretty much like been deleted, where I can honestly say like sometimes like I had an old friend that I recently saw and he reminded me of a story that I completely forgot about. It's because I have built so many new memories now from traveling to a lot of the accomplishments that literally just, you know, thinking about the old me is just kind of just like I feel like that guy just doesn't even exist anymore in my head. And somebody recently asked me, hopefully this is not one of your questions, but like would you say to your like younger self, right? If I could go back, this is why I want to film the video of me looking at myself working at Target, because if I could like get in a DeLorean and travel back through time to that moment, I would walk up to that little me and I would just give him a hug and tell him everything's gonna be okay.
What would you tell a person watching this right now who is addicted to pills, alcohol, chaos, and thinks that they're done?
That it's something that you can let go of. You feel like it's impossible, but nothing is impossible. Just take a look outside and see that plane flying in the air. Clearly, somebody came up with that and they made that happen. So if they can make that happen, you can honestly see how strong the mind is. The mind is a lot stronger than you actually think. Anything you put your mind to, you could actually accomplish. If you don't accomplish it, it's because you truly don't want it. Because in reality, everything is attainable, including success, including accomplishments. And I am living proof that everything you want to do. I've always wanted to be an actor. Just recently, I was on a movie set do acting. I wanted to be a designer. There we go. I'm doing that. I wanted to be in New York Fashion Week. Now I got that coming up in February. So it's like, and I'm a guy, remember, from Santa Ana, California, who didn't do well in school, who pretty much got arrested, who was looking at 20 years in prison, who pretty much everything was against him, and did a complete 180. My focus changed, my circle changed, my direction changed pretty much. And if I did it, it's something that you can do. Now, it's unfortunate, but you are going to have ups and downs. You are going to have more people that come into your life. They're going to try to, pretty much destroy the light that you now have, but you just have to protect it as much as you can.
What's next for you that scares you a little?
New York Fashion Week.
Why?
New York Fashion Week, because it's something that I've always wanted, and it's something that I never felt like I was good enough for it, because I see all these big designers from like Europe and all these people like going, it's pretty much like they go compete together to stand out. And it's something that I'm nervous about, because I'm like, it's not just but even though I've had millions of people view my work and I've had a lot of people compliment the stuff that I do, but you gotta understand now, this is a whole new industry that now you have to wow. I've wowed my industry. Now I have to wow a completely different industry, even though I'm not afraid of like criticism, but just the fact that this has been a dream of mine to be there, I want to make sure I do it right.
Javier, thank you for letting the people see the real road behind the shine. Much respect to you, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.